Welcome to the KZGN News. Today we'll bring you the latest news bulletin from Homeland Security on terror, news from Sacramento on the budget, news from the Ridgecrest Police Department, terror, blame, and denials, gun control debate, today's gas prices, weather, sports, and much more.
From the Rademacher Hills to Bee Mountain and the mighty Sierras, Ridgecrest to Inyokern and China Lake, this is your news for the Indian Wells Valley with the KZGN News crew.
Hello, I'm Tom Windick. Thanks for joining us for the news affecting Ridgecrest and the Indian Wells Valley. And to all the fathers out there, say Happy Father's Day. Here's the latest terror advisory bulletin from Homeland Security. Again, this is from Homeland Security. In December, we described a new phase in the global threat environment which has implications on the homeland. This basic assessment has not changed. In this environment, we are particularly concerned about homegrown violent extremists who could strike with little or no notice. The tragic events of Orlando several days ago reinforced this. Accordingly, increased public vigilance and awareness continues to be of utmost importance. This bulletin has a 5-month duration and will expire just before the holiday season. We will reassess the threats of terrorism at that time. Here is how you can help. Report suspicious activity to local law enforcement or public safety officials who are best positioned to respond and offer specific details on terroristic indicators. Suspicious activity or information about a threat may also be reported to fusion centers and the FBI's field offices, part of the nationwide Suspicious Activity Reporting Initiative. Learn how to recognize signs of pre-operational planning associated with terrorism and/or other criminal activity. Be prepared for increased security and plan ahead to anticipate delays. In populated places, be responsible for your personal safety. Make a mental note of emergency exits and locations of nearest security personnel. Keep cell phones in your pockets instead of bags or on tables so you don't lose them during an incident. Carry emergency contact details and any special needs information with you at all times. In news from Sacramento, Assemblywoman Shannon Grove joined her Republican colleagues to oppose the passage of the 2016-17 state budget this week because of its reckless spending and misplaced priorities. Although state revenue projections for May were down $154 million, the budget Democrat legislators approved will increase spending by $7 billion. Grove and other Republicans believe the state should prepare for the next economic downturn by spending less and saving more, and at the same time invest more on our critical transportation needs. Democrats at the Capitol continue their irresponsible spending habits, despite warnings of a coming economic downturn, said Assemblywoman Shannon Grove. They are failing to save for the future and deal with the state's crumbling transportation infrastructure as promised, and they continue to waste taxpayer money. The recent fiscal stress test by Moody's Credit Rating Service found that California was one of the least prepared states to weather the next recession. The state controller also announced last week that the state revenue projections were down $154 million in May from what the governor projected. Spending for the high-speed rail continues unabated, despite the fact that a recent cap-and-trade auction funding the project only collected $10 million, an amount way under anticipated projections. The state budget also wastefully increased spending at the Sonoma Development Center by $32 million, after the Federal Department of Health and Human Services decided to withdraw its support for the center because its deficiencies posed immediate jeopardy to the health and safety of their clients. Instead of closing the center immediately to protect the vulnerable, disabled residents, this year's budget drags out its planned closure and sets aside an additional $14 million for retention bonuses for state workers. Instead of this wasteful spending, Groves believes California should be preparing for an economic downturn. So while the Democrats and Governor Brown keep pushing for a $1 billion tax increase on us to fix roads, they continue to fund an agency they have voted to shut down, and even increase the funding by $32 million and offer another $14 million to their union employees for staying on. Sheer lunacy. The Democratic Party spending plan actually puts California on the path to another financial crisis. According to the Department of Finance, this budget sets the state up for a $4.1 billion deficit by the 2019-20 budget year. Grove also expressed disappointment that the majority party fails to make virtually any new investments in transportation infrastructure. Although Sacramento Democrats have repeatedly said that transportation is their highest priority, the administration is moving to cut more than $750 million from transportation projects over the next 5 years. The governor also continues to demand that Californians pay a $1 billion gas tax increase and a $2 billion vehicle registration increase to fix our roads, something that the Republicans have been successful at stopping. Assemblyman Republicans have proposed a 9-point plan to generate billions in new revenue for transportation infrastructure and enact reforms to stretch transportation dollars to the fullest. On a positive note, Grove was pleased that the budget includes modest improvements to a Private Attorney General Act, a law attorneys have used to extort millions of dollar settlements from thousands of companies throughout California, forcing bankruptcies, layoffs, and pushing businesses to leave the state. The budget also puts an additional $2 billion into the state's rainy day fund. In news from the Ridgecrest Police Department, they're announcing the start of a new 2016 Police Academy. The PD is currently accepting applications for the 2016 Citizens Police Academy. The Citizens Police Academy is a 9-week program designed to give members of the community an inside look at local law enforcement. During the academy, students will be introduced to a variety of topics to give them an overview of the Ridgecrest Police Department's function and operations. Graduates from the academy are encouraged to continue their involvement with the police department by becoming one of our volunteers in Police and Community Together, which is PACT, and or the Community Emergency Response Team, which is called CERT. Participants in the Citizens Police Academy are selected through an application process. Enrollment is limited to 20 students. Potential candidates must meet the following eligibility requirements. First, you must be a minimum of 18 years of age. You must live or work in the Indian Wells Valley. You must have no felony convictions and must have had no serious misdemeanor convictions in the last 5 years. The Citizens Police Academy application and information are available at the Ridgecrest Police Department, 100 West California, Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. You can also email Sergeant Ryan Maroney for an application. Applications will be accepted until Wednesday, July 6, 2016. Classes will begin on Thursday, August 4th, and start at 6 p.m. and go to 8:30 p.m. Graduation from the Academy will be held Thursday, September 29th. To learn more about the Academy, please leave a message for Sergeant Maroney at 760-499-5143 or email him at rmaroney@ridgecrest-ca.gov. The Citizens Police Academy is a great way to learn about your community, meet people, and get to know the men and women of your police department. Now stay with us. After the break, we'll have some terror news. Thanks for staying with us. In terror news, Senator John McCain has joined Trump's position on terror by saying, President Obama was directly responsible for the terror attack in Orlando due to his failure to combat the rise of the Islamic State terror group. McCain's statement goes beyond the criticism of Obama that has been leveled by his Republican colleagues in the Senate, and it follows remarks made this week by presumptive GOP presidential nominee Donald Trump. McCain made his remarks in a Senate hallway to a small group of reporters, responding to a question about the gun control debate that has flared on Capitol Hill since the Sunday morning shooting that left 49 clubgoers and the gunman dead. Obama on Thursday traveled to Orlando with Senator Marco Rubio to pay his respects to victims' families. McCain answered the question about the gun debate by citing Obama's culpability for the attack through his foreign policy. Barack Obama is directly responsible for it because when he pulled everybody out of Iraq, Al-Qaeda went to Syria, became ISIS, and ISIS is what is today thanks to Barack Obama's failure. When pressed by a reporter on the claim that Obama was directly responsible, McCain reiterated his point that Obama should not have withdrawn combat troops from Iraq. He pulled everybody out of Iraq, and I predicted at that time that ISIS would go ahead unchecked and there would be attacks on the United States of America, he said. It's a matter of record, so he is directly responsible, McCain said. In a statement released Thursday afternoon after the comments were publicized, McCain said that he misspoke a little bit. I did not mean to imply that the president was personally responsible. He said, I was referring to the President Obama's national security decisions, not the president himself. As I have said, President Obama's decision to completely withdraw U.S. troops from Iraq in 2011 led to the rise of ISIL. I and others have long warned that the failure of the president's policy to deny ISIL safe haven would allow the terrorist organization to inspire, plan, direct, or conduct attacks on the United States and Europe as they have done in Paris, Brussels, San Bernardino, and now Orlando. The gunman referenced the Islamic State multiple times on Sunday. Omar Mateen, the 29-year-old shooter, pledged loyalty to the leader of the Islamic State during a 911 call made while the hostage standoff at the club was ongoing. John McCain is in a heated re-election campaign. His opponent called McCain's comments over the line, but his comments do move closer to Trump's assertions that Obama's policy to destroy ISIS is not working. While the president has tried to point to some small successes in Afghanistan, reports came out yesterday that ISIS is growing and getting stronger in Libya right now. It is reported that ISIS strength in Syria is about 22,000 and Libya at about 8,000. Along with the continued blame game for homegrown terror attacks, the issue again came up about ISIS spreading their terror threat throughout the Syrian refugee crisis. As we have seen, the terror attacks in France and Belgium has been linked directly to the Syrian refugee movement. And ISIS has been online declaring they'll be coming to America as well. This at a time that the Obama administration continues to let in more Syrian refugees. Yesterday, the head of the CIA testified that there is no way they can adequately screen these refugees. Just since the Orlando attack, the administration has let in 450 more refugees from Syria. This is on top of the already 8,000 that have been admitted. The head of the CIA said that there is no way they can provide for the protection of the citizens of the United States. These refugees have little to no papers, and we have no way to check these people with the governments from which they fled. So, with the head of the CIA joining 5 other top administration officials saying that they cannot adequately screen these refugees, we are at grave risk for more terror attacks in the future. So again, it seems that the administration officials are supporting Trump's claims and warnings against letting in these refugees. Officials say it's not if it will happen, but when it will happen again. Now, in further discussion on the latest terror attack, liberals and liberal-leaning media are putting on a full press blaming the terror attack on guns instead of the real problem, radical extremist Muslims that want to kill all infidels and Western civilization as we know it. There was even one Democrat proclaiming loudly in the halls of Congress in an interview yesterday. He said, "This attack is not about terror. It's about guns, and that people can get guns that kill." Yes, you heard right. He flat out blamed guns for the Orlando terror attack. Even though the attacker declared his allegiance to ISIS and said the attack was in retaliation for U.S. airstrikes in Syria and Afghanistan. To jumpstart action on the issue, Democrats launched a nearly 15-hour Senate filibuster on Wednesday that concluded early Thursday. Hours later, leaders from each party announced plans to hold votes on Monday on a series of bills. But the 4 measures, 2 from Democrats and 2 from Republicans, have all been rejected in the past and are expected to fail again this time, showing the continuing divide between Democrat and Republican senators on guns. Votes would be held on whether to ban people on the government's terrorist watch list from obtaining gun licenses, and whether to expand background checks to gun shows and internet sales. Trump offered yesterday that if it was constitutional, that maybe something to do with keeping the guns out of the hands of terrorists should be looked at. We already have laws to keep felons and certain misdemeanors and other categories of people to not be able to purchase guns. The liberal media has really turned up the heat to pass something. I've watched all the normal news stations reporting, and they have spent hours and hours banging on Congress to pass something. So, the real target is so-called assault weapons. The problem is that anti-gunners don't even know what an assault weapon really is. It is historically based solely on the looks of the gun and the relationship that the military uses a similar gun. But the truth is, the guns they are trying to ban are not assault weapons as defined by the firearms industry. nor do these guns they are trying to ban have the features of the gun the military uses. Result, these anti-gunners don't have a clue as to what they are talking about when they declare these are assault weapons designed to quickly kill lots of people. And of course, the bottom line, there are already millions of these guns in the country, legally owned. So what about all these people that already have them? Will they have to turn them in, or will they be grandfathered? In the end, even if they ban them, the bad guys will find ways to get them if they want. But more likely, the bad guys will just use some other type of gun to go do their murders and terrorist attacks. Banning one type of rifle will do nothing to stop terror attacks. Now, KZGN continues the effort to provide news and information you've asked for. Here are today's gas prices for Ridgecrest and some surrounding areas. Well, since my last report, local prices have held steady. As of this morning, Ridgecrest is ranging from $2.57 to $2.89. Lancaster from $2.69 to $3.09. The LA Valley area $2.61 to $2.83. And the Bishop area $2.74 to $2.91. We have 4 stations at $2.57 per gallon and 1 at $2.59 per gallon. Tune in Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays for updates. We at KZGN always suggest you shop locally to support our local economy. Remember, when you pay sales tax out of town, you're helping those cities pave their streets instead of here. Now stay with us. After the break, we'll have weather and sports. Thanks for staying with us. Now here's Lane with the weather. Hey Lane, how's the Father's Day weekend shaping up?
Thank you, Tom. It looks like it'll be quite warm. From the National Weather Service, oppressive and dangerous heat persists across parts of the plains, Mississippi Valley, and the desert southwest. Numerous excessive heat warnings are in effect across the desert southwest and parts of the plains. Widespread heat advisories are in effect from the Gulf Coast to the Central Plains. Severe thunderstorms will be possible across parts of the northern plains on Saturday. Temperatures across the nation. Carolinas at 79, Georgia at 89, Arkansas at 96, northern Texas at 94, Arizona at 95, and Los Angeles at 75. And for us locally, tonight, mostly clear with a low around 65, south-southwest wind, 10 to 15 miles per hour, with gusts as high as 25. For Father's Day, sunny with a high near 99, south-southwest wind, 5 to 15 miles per hour, with gusts as high as 20. Saturday night, mostly clear with a low around 68, west wind, 5 to 15 miles per hour, with gusts as high as 25. Sunday, sunny with a high near 105, northwest wind, 5 miles per hour. Sunday night, mostly clear with a low around 74, west-northwest wind, 5 miles per hour. Monday, sunny with a high near 111, west-northwest wind, 5 miles per hour. Monday night, clear with a low around 78, west wind, 10 to 15 miles per hour. And Tuesday, sunny with a high near 113, west-northwest wind, 5 miles per hour. And that is your forecast for the IWV. Now back to Tom.
Thanks, Lane. Now here's Tom Eck with sports.
And a very pleasant Friday early evening to everyone. Well, if you like Game 7 scenarios, you've got it. NBA Finals last night, game number 6 in Cleveland. Like all the other games, not close at all. This one goes to the Cleveland Cavaliers. So the series, 3 games apiece. Game 7, 5 o'clock our time Sunday over at Oracle Arena in Oakland. Should be very, very interesting. Now, some interesting things about last night and this series. Last night, the Warriors, who have scored more points than anybody else this year in the NBA, had their lowest total for any one quarter last night. They only scored 11 points in the first quarter. They were down 31-11 after one. Stephen Curry had 31 points last night. He fouled out, first time since 2012, and then he was thrown out of a game, first time ever. Now, the next thing is there's been 19 Game 7 scenarios in NBA history. The home team is 15-3 in these Game 7s. Now, Golden State this year, 39 wins, 2 losses at home, which is pretty incredible. LeBron James last night, 41 points again. Back-to-back consecutive nights, and easily LeBron James, clearly the MVP of this series. In an interview with Craig Sager right after the game, Sager, who is battling leukemia, he has been out for a while. He's now working for TNT, but on loan, ABC had Seager do the post-game and the halftime interviews, and after the game, LeBron James was very, very humble and complimentary of Golden State, not really wanting to provoke anything, it sounded like. James, I thought, acted with a lot of class last night. Truly the guy that just carried Cleveland on his back. Okay, World Federation Soccer, USA beats Ecuador 2-1. U.S. Open going on this weekend. Major League Baseball, the Dodgers tonight in Milwaukee will play the game number 2 of the series. Last night, the Brewers won 8-6. The Angels will be at Oakland for 3 games, and Oakland's struggling. I don't know if Oakland's going to be around in a year or not. They may move. That's been the rumor. Bob Melvin, the head coach of that team, it's been a struggling year for the Oakland A's. Are currently in last place in the West. Texas won again yesterday. They beat Oakland. In fact, Colby Lewis for the Rangers had a no-hitter going into the 9th inning, which was spoiled. Seattle won also. They're in second place in the West. The Angels currently 12 games back of the Rangers. Yankees, Baltimore, Washington, the Mets, and Toronto also get wins. And this week, the Saracoso basketball camp had a very successful week. Had about 50 kids in camp, and the session went real well. The next session will be July 11 through 15. Then they'll have one in August 1st through the 5th. Information for that, 760-384-6384. For your sports on this Friday for KZGN, I'm Tom Heck.
So that's the news for today. Also, KZGN-TV know you have a choice in what you watch for e-news. We all thank you for choosing KZGN-TV, Ridgecrest's only locally owned community TV station. Now stay tuned for Ridgecrest Talk coming up next. And again, remember, Happy Father's Day, all you guys out there.